Do you constantly second guess every decision or criticize yourself for every mistake? Or maybe you feel like you never get it right. Trauma, anxiety, depression, and seasonal depression can distort your sense of fairness. And today you'll discover why true fairness isn't about perfection. It's about extending the same grace to yourself that you so freely give everyone else. Do you want to achieve your goals, but anxiety is tripping you up? Like to keep those fun weekend plans, but depression has you counseling again? Hey, I'm Lori, dog mom, lover of nature, and hygge enthusiast. Positive psychology skills help me overcome chronic severe PTSD. If you're ready to learn how to overcome your anxiety and depression and rediscover happiness and purpose in life, then get your cozy on and let's get started. Welcome back to Practical Solutions for PTSD, and I'm glad you're here for our next installment in the Not Broken Equipped series. And today we're going to be talking about fairness, which is sometimes called justice. And I'm really excited to get into this one. This is one of my signature strengths, so I can definitely relate to a lot of what we're going to talk about today. But you've also heard me talk a lot about, coaching you on your strengths and sitting down with you one-on-one and working through that. I want to give you a layout of what that's going to look like when we meet together. So when you set up your first appointment, our goal isn't to try to fix you. As we're working together, our goal is first to understand you. So like we start off just listening, or I do. I'll let you talk. I listen. What challenges are you facing? What goals matter most to you right now? What have you already tried? What has worked? What didn't work? What's leaving you feeling frustrated? Then we begin to build your personal operating manual. Together, we'll identify the assessments, what those reveal, and how you're uniquely wired. It could be your character strengths, your spiritual gifts, personality patterns, natural motivation, communication style, stress response. There's all kinds of assessments out there that I know you've already taken. And so, but we don't want to stop at just self-awareness, which there is a lot of power in self-awareness. And I'm not going to take away from that at all. There's a lot of power in that. But we want to operationalize what you discover. So if one of your greatest strengths is curiosity, how can you use that strength to overcome fear instead of feeding anxiety? If your strength is kindness, how do you serve others without burning yourself out? If one of your spiritual gifts is teaching, how does that shape your purpose in your daily work? If your personality naturally tends to structure, what routines help you to thrive? If flexibility energizes you, how can we build a system that supports a consistency without becoming rigid? Everything becomes personalized. All those tools that you hear about all the time in the self-help world or the life coaching realm, we personalize those by your character strengths. We operationalize those personal assessments. So instead of just generic advice and you figure out which one works and which doesn't, you receive practical strategies built around the way God designed you to operate. You'll leave with more than an assessment result. You'll leave knowing how you make decisions, how you process challenges, how you recharge, how you build habits that actually stick, how to lean into your strengths when life gets hard. Because lasting changes don't happen when you become someone else. When you're trying to become the person to your left or right or do something like they did and succeeded, that's not how lasting change happens. It happens when you learn how to fully use the person you already are. So if any of this rings a bell with you and you're like, yes, this is what I want to do. I want to try to figure out how I'm wired and what works for me and how to take all these skills like time management and personalize it to something that actually works for me, then go to practicalsolutionsforptsd.com/breakthrough, schedule your first appointment with me, and we'll sit down and start the process. So again, go to practicalsolutionsforptsd.com/breakthrough. You can schedule your first 60-minute appointment. We'll start you on this process of discovering how God wired you to be and how leaning into that can help you to rise above the challenges that you face on a daily basis. And this is something not only do I help my coaching clients with this is something I help them directly, But I use this myself. I'll sit down sometimes like, okay, this is the challenge I'm facing. How can I use my personality strengths to help me with this? And I'll apply them to be able to help me to know how to conquer whatever challenge it is. And this is something I want you to learn how to do and how to implement in your own life so that you become more effective and those habit changes stick and you're able to overcome those challenges. So go to practicalsolutionsforptsd.com/breakthrough and schedule your appointment today. So, as I said, we're going to be getting into the character strength of justice and or fairness, which is sometimes called justice, and it's actually classified in the virtue of justice. As many people think fairness means treating everyone exactly the same or always making the quote right choice. But when you're living with trauma, whether it be PTSD, anxiety, depression, or seasonal depression, that can feel like an impossible standard, especially when your emotions are all over the place. So here's a different way to think about it. Fairness isn't about being perfect. It's not rigid rule following, and it isn't carrying guilt over every mistake you've ever made. Instead, it's choosing to respond with wisdom, compassion, and integrity, even when life feels messy, especially when life feels messy. So sometimes fairness does mean speaking up. Sometimes it means listening. Sometimes it means extending grace, both to yourself and to those around you. Each one of those has its own place when you're exercising the character strength of fairness. Now, fairness is the ability to treat people with respect, recognize different perspectives, and make choices that reflect your values. And that's really important. You need to be able to reflect your values and your decision making. From a trauma informed perspective, fairness begins with how you treat yourself. And this is so important. We're so ready to give grace to other people often, and a lot of people are, and you're ready to go the extra mile for them or to have understanding for them, but you don't for yourself. And it's really important that you are fair to yourself as well. And trauma can distort the way we see ourselves and others. It can leave us believing that we have to be perfect or constantly prove we're doing the right thing. Fairness invites us to consider different perspectives, challenge our assumptions, respond honestly, and honor both our needs and the needs of others. So you can think of fairness as a compass, not as a scorecard. Its purpose isn't to measure your worth, it's to help guide your next step. So, how do you see this show up in everyday life? Fairness could be listening before jumping to conclusions. And that can be hard to do, especially if it's a topic that you're really passionate about. But reining that in a little bit and just this is where fairness shows up. You're going to listen to that person, explain it before you jump to conclusions. Admit when someone else has a valid point. That's part of being fair. Being honest about your limits. Now, this could be a difficult one if you're an overachiever or you have the character strength of kindness, compassion, whatever that may be, reaching out to other people. You want to keep giving, but you need to be honest about your limits. That's part of exercising the character strength of fairness. Offering yourself the same compassion you readily give to others. This is so important. And this is where sometimes with fairness, when it's outdone, you can get into self criticism and you're not offering yourself that grace. But it's really important that you do offer yourself the same grace that you would someone else you love, your best friend, a family member, whoever that may be. For anxiety, fairness helps interrupt endless second guessing by reminding you that thoughtful choices don't have to be flawless. And I know it's easy to second guess what we do and think, well, I could have done that better. But sometimes we just need to draw a line in the sand and say, it is what it is. I can't go back and change it. If I made a mistake, I can learn from it, but now I need to move forward. For depression, it encourages small actions that reconnect with your values and sense of purpose. For seasonal depression, it may mean adjusting expectations instead of criticizing yourself for having less energy. And I've been talking about summer SADs, and I know for people that I know that have summer SADs or seasonal affective disorder, August is a tough month. So being honest and fair with yourself and understanding that this month may be a month you just can't quite go as hard as you normally go. You need to back off that pace a little bit and give yourself some grace. Living fairly isn't about getting everything right. It's about responding with wisdom and compassion throughout life. Even when life seems to just happen to you, you respond with wisdom and compassion. Now, when fairness becomes unhealthy or unbalanced, or we get into that dark side, you're going to see things like harsh self judgment, constant comparison, guilt over every imperfect choice, or fear of acting because you might get it wrong. And I have faced every single one of those at one point or the other. For a trauma survivor, a strong desire for fairness may grow from experiences that felt deeply unjust or outside of your control. And this is one thing with trauma is you want to be able to control it because you don't want it to happen again. And when you've been in that situation where you've been treated unfairly, it can really trigger that fairness strength in you and you kind of go too far the other direction. For anxiety, that character strength of fairness, when it's unhealthy, it can become relentless self questioning. For depression, it can sound like, oh, I'll never be good enough. So here's a way you could reframe that a little bit. You don't need perfect information to make good choices. Do the best you can with what you know today, and then give yourself grace. How does this strength help in trauma? So, for PTSD, fairness rebuilds confidence in your own judgment by reminding you that not every choice leads to danger. For anxiety, it provides a healthier way to evaluate situations without getting trapped in endless what if thinking. For depression, acting in alignment with your values restores purpose and reminds you that your choices still matter. Even little choices, but your choices still matter. For seasonal depression, fairness encourages realistic expectation, helping you use your energy wisely instead of expecting yourself to operate at full capacity all year long. And I was talking about this a little bit ago. If you're hitting that summer sad slump, August can be a tough month, and that's just around the corner. It's next week. So, giving yourself some grace during the month of August is really important. And I've shared before, like July is my worst month, or January, because I have fall winter sads. And so my plan is to get a bunch of stuff done ahead of time so that I can take it a little easier in January and give myself grace during a month I know is really difficult for me. Fairness won't remove all your challenges, but it can help you move through those challenges with greater clarity and confidence. So, how can we develop this character strength of fairness? And this applies for both people who have this as a signature strength, as well as others that can see the value in this character strength and want to develop it a little bit more in their own life. So, there's four things that you can do to help develop it. One is to pause before reacting. So, take a moment, just take a beat, and separate facts from assumptions. It's easy to act when something's got you passionate, got you riled up. You want to jump in there and execute justice. Make sure everything is fair, but make sure you have your facts straight and they're separated from assumptions. Number two is to look at the situation from another angle. Ask yourself what you might be missing. Look for different perspectives. Get diversity in your opinions from other people. Ask questions. Look into it a little bit more. Number three is to practice integrity in everyday moments. This is so important to have integrity in how you're acting. Keep your word. If you gave your word, you gave a promise, keep it. Own your mistakes. Oh, this is so, so important. Was a class I used to teach and I worked for the Army about building better communication and relationship through that. And one of those, we all make mistakes. Everybody does. Own it. When you own your mistakes, own up to them and to say, look, I was wrong. I'm sorry. I apologize. It actually builds your credibility with the people on the other side of that. So own your mistakes. Choose honesty even when it's uncomfortable. And sometimes it is uncomfortable to be honest. Even being honest with yourself can be hard, but choose honesty even when it's uncomfortable. Number four is to leave room for grace. This is so, so important because we are all human. Every one of us makes mistakes. Every one of us has flaws. Every one of us trips up once in a while. So being fair doesn't require being perfect or being flawless. Compassion belongs in every single decision that you make, especially the ones involving yourself. Be compassionate and give yourself grace. So, as we wrap up our podcast today, I want to leave you with this reminder. Fairness isn't about getting everything right, it's about responding with wisdom, honesty, and compassion. And if you're in a position right now where you feel like this strength feels difficult right now, it hasn't disappeared. If this is a strength that you're wired with, it's still there. It just may need some space for you to feel safe, to come back from the trauma that you're dealing with. It may just need some patience for you to grow and develop that. It's not gone. It's still there. It'll come back when you're feeling healthy and you can exercise it again. So here's a question I want you to carry with you this week. Where could you replace self-criticism with the same fairness and grace you would freely offer someone you love? This is so important because it's so easy, especially with the character strength of fairness, to get caught up in self-criticism. Like, well, I didn't do that quite right, or I was too harsh or too lenient, or I should have used greater wisdom, or I didn't get all the facts like I should have. It's so easy to do that. But remember, fairness is not about getting everything right or being perfect. So where could you replace self-criticism with the same fairness and grace you would freely offer someone you love? And you don't need to answer that right away. Carry that question with you. And then when you find a place that you could exercise that for yourself, do it. Give yourself grace, be kind, and your fairness, be honest, but cloak that honesty with grace and kindness for yourself as well as others. If you would like some help in mapping out your character strengths and how you can use them in your everyday life to turn on your superpowers, go to practicalsolutionsforptsd.com/breakthrough and schedule your appointment today. Hey, my friend, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you please take 30 seconds and share it with someone you know who may be struggling with depression and anxiety? Also, would you please leave a quick review for the show? Knowing how this podcast is helping you fills my heart with so much joy, and it motivates me for future episodes. For now, it's time for Sam and I to head outside to enjoy some sunshine and fresh air. We'll see you back here on Tuesdays and Thursdays for more great episodes.